Hello there once again, it's your old pal Locke the Bounty Hunter, and on today's very special episode, we are taking a look at the internet's favorite misandrist, good old Blanche here. It's been a while since we checked her out, so I thought, why not? We should check. I thought, why not? I haven't had brain damage in the last couple of hours. I thought, why not? I haven't had brain damage in the last couple of hours, so, you know, I'm a glutton for punishment, but I do it for the best damn subs on the internet. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to leave some comments and share this video because, oh boy, some's got a feeling that this one might hurt a little bit. So let's not waste any more time and dive right in, shall we?
There are way too many women out there right now struggling in their relationships with men.
Yeah, and whose fault is that?
Simply because they won't admit two very simple truths to themselves. These are truths that men will not admit to themselves or to you ladies, so let's talk about it. And the first truth is that communication is not that hard. It's not that hard for him to do, he just doesn't want to do it. He doesn't.
And that's an interesting thing about mathematics is when you're 50% right, you're 100% wrong.
No, communication is fairly simple. Here's how it works. You open up your mouth hole and speak clearly to the man. The man then understands and either listens or kicks you to the curb. It really depends on the man, but considering that you will settle for nothing less than an obedient Chad, that is why you complain that all men don't communicate. It's because you keep choosing the wrong dude. Most men will listen if you actually talk, but you don't do that. You drop subtle hints and then endlessly whine when he doesn't pick up on them. How is that the man's fault? You're the one dropping the hint, sister, not us.
Doesn't consider it important enough. Whatever it is you're asking him to do and he's not doing it, it's not because it's hard for him. It's not because anything is actually in his way. It is because he doesn't want to do it.
That is without a doubt the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
It's not that you're asking him to do anything, it's that you're demanding it. You're relentlessly wearing the guy down. All we have to do is just listen to you constantly complain about stuff to know that you're not asking a man to do anything. You're making demands of him because you expect to be treated a certain way. However, when a man says he wants to be treated the same, then all of a sudden he doesn't listen. He's a monster. He's this. He's that. And that's what this is about here, Blanche.
And he can see how it's impacting your relationship. He can see how it's impacting you. He just doesn't care. He assumes that if it's bad enough, you will leave him. And that's because most men don't actually believe in unconditional love, especially with women.
Men only receive unconditional love from their mothers, and even that's becoming more and more of a rarity. Men's love always, when a man receives love, it is always under conditions. He has to look a certain way. He has to act a certain way. He has to do certain things. He has to make enough money. He has to dress a certain way. He has to say the right things at the exact same time. A man's life is nothing but conditions, Blanche. Meanwhile, you get to exist, and because society is apparently suffering from a massive closed head injury, you get celebrated for it. It really is a messed up world, but what are you gonna do?
They believe in that with their homeboys, who they will forgive on the behalf of those homeboys, rape victims, assault victims, victims of their stalking, harassment, domestic abuse. They believe in unconditional love.
Brothers before wars, David.
You have absolutely no idea how brotherhood works, sister. You see, most of the cases, yeah, a man will stick by his brother through thick and thin until that guy does something incredibly heinous, like the things that you actually mentioned. Then he'll reevaluate the friendship and most likely distance himself from it unless the evidence proves to the contrary. You do not know the first thing about brotherhood, mainly because you just assume it because you watch a lot of true crime dramas. But you have no life and way too much time on your hands, so this is what you do with it.
Just not for you. Again, with his guy friends doing their fantasy draft, like there's a lot of communication involved, and schedules and all of those kinds of things are involved, and they get through it just fine.
That's because it's a hobby that they enjoy, Blanche. You like to think that men are just sudden, it's at the cost of a woman's soul. I wish you would really listen to yourself, Blanche, because what you're talking about is incredibly unfair. You're already starting to insinuate that men are not allowed to have hobbies because if they have them, then they're neglecting you. But I don't see how that's the case. There's nothing to neglect. You're barely a person, Blanche.
He communicates at work just fine. He answers his emails, but he won't answer your texts. He answers phone calls at work, but he doesn't answer your call. Like, none of this is that hard. It's just simple human communication that he performs around other humans just...
No, it's because if he doesn't answer emails at work, he'll get fired. And just because you're sending a WID text doesn't mean he has to drop everything he's doing to reply right away. Most men communicate just fine, but if you're not communicating effectively, he will get...
You? There's not a communication problem. There's a personal problem. He doesn't
Okay, so if you have one side that's communicating and another side that's not, isn't that the very definition of a communication problem? Sounds to me like it is.
like you, and he doesn't want to communicate with you. And the reason that this happens in almost every relationship is problem number 2. Men struggle to see women as people.
Okay, under that rationale, at least men are making the attempt to see women as people. You just rip into men on a regular basis without even taking so much to consider their thoughts, their feelings, or their abilities. You just assume that you're right because for some reason, you know how men think, even though you have yet to show us that you have the capacity for upper brain function.
And so when they're looking to realize that you are on their level or higher, actually, because you have been socialized as a woman to be an extremely good and effective communicator. Not only that, but you have also been taught to be like introspective to a fault. Consider others above yourself. You know about sacrifice, you know.
Blanche, you don't know the first thing about sacrifice. Well, that's not true. You know sacrifice in the fact that the men are supposed to sacrifice everything for you because you breathe. That's about it right there.
About pain, you know, feeling, you know, invisible and unseen and being underestimated and having...
You boys obviously don't know who you're dealing with.
You want to talk invisible? Okay, fine. Let's go there. 95% of men are literally invisible to a majority of women. We are not seen, we are not heard, and the second that we make enough of a violent crime, all sorts of fun little stuff. But here's the best part. At the exact same time that you're hurling all of these insults and false accusations at us, at the exact same time, we're also expected to shut up and do our jobs. Yeah, we don't know anything about being invisible there, sister. You're absolutely right.
To prove yourself against all odds, and men think that you care about things down here, like little hair clips and bows and like cute little shoes and like...
Yeah, what do we know? It's not like you actually post videos while applying makeup and talking smack about men. Yeah, you don't do that at all, do you, Blanche?
Flowers. The problem that's sort of hidden there is in the overlap of how men are socialized to view women and other men, and also how men are socialized to communicate. Communication for men, even when it doesn't come to a woman, communication for men typically happens on this hierarchical level. Like men...
What in God's holy name are you blathering about?
It really depends on the man. If a man is talking with his best friend, then yeah, he's actually going to be straightforward and communicate our mouths. But if it's a problem that we want to solve ourselves, we're going to do our best not to talk about it because we're too busy solving the problem. It's really not that complicated.
Reason that your boyfriend has all of this like gusto to stand up to you, to argue with you, to mansplain to you, to well actually every single conversation you guys...
Well then, have you ever considered actually educating yourself and actually going into a conversation with, I don't know, some basic knowledge on the subject? If you say something that's verifiably false, a man, a woman, or even a child has the right to correct you. That's not mansplaining. That is calling you out for being wrong.
Have to look up data and statistics and prove you wrong and like all...
Yes, we will look up data and statistics to prove you wrong because you are coming from a place of ignorance, but you still assume that you're right for reasons that you can't even explain.
All of this stuff, but whenever it's his boss that's, you know, feeding him a bunch of bullshit about why he can't get a raise or why he isn't going to get a promotion or something like that, he's not going to, well, actually his boss, he's not going to bring statistics to his boss. That's because there's this inherent hierarchy that men...
Blanche, it's called picking and choosing your battles. If he does try to call him out and make a big hubbub about it all, he runs the risk of getting fired. And having a lower paycheck is better than having none at all. It is what it is. You wouldn't know that because you live off your daddy's money. At least I'm assuming so. That's how you act.
No, you don't argue with that guy. You don't argue with this guy. You know, there are always sort of like scapegoats. And if you're not the scapegoat, at least you have some little bit of power, right? Men bring that into relationships with you. And because they are socialized to see all women inherently as lesser, you fit into the scapegoat position of his little hierarchy in the home.
That is because relationships are built on the fact that the man leads and the woman follows. However, you don't want to follow, you just want power, even though you don't know what you would do if you had it. You just want it because you feel oppressed, even though you clearly have money, you clearly live in an upper class part of town, you just have this overwhelming sense of superiority over people. You want more. You always want more, and you wouldn't even know what to do with it if you had it, Blanche.
So now you're the scapegoat. You don't get to, well, actually him. You don't get to argue with him. That's where your guys' communication struggles come from. That's why
No, if a man is wrong, you can call him out on it and have a civilized discussion. But we don't live in an era of civil discourse anymore. The new culture is the woman's always right, the man is always wrong. And if the man actually brings up a good point, then he's a mansplaining evil who's a secret agent for the patriarchy. That's what we have nowadays. So most of us just give up because there's no sense in communicating with you because you just don't want to listen.
he can never admit when he's wrong, things like that. Because a lot of women notice that men listen to each other way better than they listen to women, even though.
And you get a reaction from people who say, huh? What are you talking about?
That's because men get it. They are able to effectively communicate with each other. Women can't even communicate with their own friends, and they act like they're attached at the hip.
Women that they claim to love and want to spend the rest of their life with. A lot of times, like, a woman will be recommending certain things to their partner, and their partner doesn't try or read or watch or whatever that thing.
That's because your suggestions generally come in the form of subtle hints. You don't effectively communicate, and most of the time, these issues are either complete change to his personality. You expect the man to completely change who he is in order to accommodate you, and that typically only happens when you completely break that man down into nothing and completely destroy and crush his spirit. And the more I think about it, the more I think that's kind of a bum deal, Blanche.
Until a male friend tells him that it worked for him or that he should do it. It really shows the difference in where a woman that you come home to every night, lay down in bed with, tell all of your deepest, darkest secrets to, supposedly, want to marry, you want to spend the rest of your life with, all that, has less pull in what you do with your personal life than some random man that you met at a company mixer. Like, that's actually fucking crazy.
Blanche, men aren't gonna tell you their deepest, darkest feelings. They know better than to let a controlling hussy in on their emotional issues. Because the second you know that, you store it in an ammo dump to use against him on one night that he doesn't clean the dishes the way you want him to. Or that one night that he actually stays out 20 minutes later than promised, or some other minute detail that really means nothing. You are going to use those insecurities against him. Men do not trust you because you have nothing that's worth trusting.
A lot of women wonder why they feel so unfulfilled, unsupported, unseen, etc. in their relationship. It's like, no, literally because your partner doesn't see you as an equal or as a human being.
Well, the same could be said for you, Blanche. You refer to men as partners. You don't refer to them as men or boyfriends or husbands. You do not recognize their masculinity. You recognize them as a faceless human being that only exists to do your bidding. That's why they're partners. That is just absolutely insulting. A man deserves to have his masculinity recognized. He's somehow an evil person who doesn't care about you.
They see other men that way, but even the way that they see other men complicates things for you at home because all of those other men also fit, like I said, into this hierarchy. Men are not leaders, and they're
That is because men are better at leading. When a bunch of women get together, the odds of them getting stuff done isn't really going to work because they're going to be too busy arguing with each other. Men can actually put the squabbles away for long enough to be able to accomplish tasks because we are better at working. It's just a fact. There's no shame in admitting it, Blanche.
To fit into these little hierarchies and this idea that everybody has a place where they belong, and some of those people belong at the top and other people belong at the bottom. And it's like this very fucked up way of thinking that transfers over into all of their other relationships.
You do the exact same thing, Blanche. You are acting on a hierarchy in the point that you believe you are above everybody and must talk down to them, and that you're always right and the men are always wrong. What is that if nothing but a messed up, lopsided hierarchy?
They turn their other relationships into a hierarchy as well. But that is exactly why they just won't listen to you. But they will listen to other men telling them to do the exact same thing. Well, as a woman, the sooner that you realize these two things and like move forward.
I don't think any of that's true.
Happily married. I find it very interesting how these broads will always say that they are happily married, that they are the ultimate pinnacle of advice because they're so happy in their marriage. But here's something interesting. You never hear from their husband. It's always her because she's the one that's happy and he's the everything that woman tells him to because that is the only way he will get a minimum amount of peace in his life. I'm telling you, this man is most likely not happy. I don't see how you could be happy with a judgmental broad such as this. That sounds like a life of pure misery.
Okay, to a man that I don't have to struggle to be seen by, a man that values my opinions, my feelings, wants to sit there and communicate with me about just about anything. Like
Boy, there's no real easy way to say this, but, look, you're a simp.
Oh yeah, I'm calling it. This guy's miserable. She has weaponized everything against this guy, and she is loving it.
Wants to hear my thoughts. I want to hear his thoughts. Like, we're not in a power struggle, because I realized these two things when I was very, very, very young, and I did not know how to put it into words.
Oh, you didn't know how to put it into words, huh? Well, that sounds awfully like a communication problem there, Toots.
But I knew exactly what I didn't want, and let me tell you, 99% of men are that. They are that. Even on a very small, teensy-weensy little scale. Even the nice guys. You have to realize the things that they do to be nice, and the reason that a lot of women still walk out of those situations as transactional coin slot machines.
And you don't? Everything you talked about is just one gigantic transaction. A man must make enough money in order to buy your affection. That's how this works. The man is supposed to get nothing in return. If the man asks for anything, then he is being selfish and disregarding the relationship. It's all about you, Blanche. It always has been. And yes, I will admit there are guys out there who believe that one percentage of the male population and blows it up to the point that's just 99% of men. The majority of self-respecting men know that they are owed two things.
Jack and shit. And Jack left town.
Well, not a human being. It's still very transactional. They're not actually interested in getting to know you on a deep level, or again, seeing you as a human being, or like...
But you have no interest in seeing men on a deep level either. All you talk about is how men are evil, men are bad, men are mean, men are violent, men are this, men are that. You have absolutely no interest in seeing the other side of the argument. You just want to be right.
Taking your advice, or assuming that when they're talking to you, they should be talking to an equal, or they in fact should be looking up to you.
Why should we look up to you? You're so high and mighty that there's nothing to see.
Because you are a woman and you've objectively been through more shit in life than he can probably even imagine.
Yeah, you definitely have gone through a whole lot of trials and tribulations. What, being thrown on a soapbox on top of a high horse that balances on an ivory pedestal. Yeah, you truly do know suffering because the internet told you to. Men are required by society to believe that you are superior to men because you exist. Nothing more, nothing less. Most men don't see themselves as superior, unless it's under certain circumstances like upper body strength. But for some reason, you insist that men are subhuman and we're just supposed to accept that. We're treated like third-class citizens because of our chromosome makeup, Blanche. I'm sorry, but you do not know suffering the same way a man does.
The day and age that we live in now, women do all the same things as men.
Then go work on an oil derrick. Go do it. You can do the same thing a man does. Go work on an oil derrick, Blanche. What's stopping you? Oh, wait. That's right. You're a woman. You can't do it.
Step forward with a bunch more hurdles and a bunch more prerequisites than men will ever have to meet. And men still haven't realized that they should be talking up to us and not down. That is where your dissatisfaction with men in general is coming from.
No, your dissatisfaction of men comes from the fact that you think you deserve a Disney princess lifestyle. And most men, because you do, you never shut up about it, Blanche. You want flowers, you want grand gestures, you want that romance movie experience, and you want it at the cost of a man's dignity.
Asking you to communicate with me, to see me, to treat me like an equal.
Well, I personally don't see how treating you as an equal is even possible, Blanche. A man must reduce himself down to nothing in order for that to happen.
To treat me like a part of your decision making. You know, to treat me the same way as you would treat a random man at work. You are literally begging your life partner to treat you the same as he would one of his guy friends.
To elaborate on that, Blanche, because if a man is somehow holding more value in some random dude he met at a bender, then you really don't mean much to that dude, Blanche. If he holds more value in others than he does with you, then the only value that you have to him is how wide you can spread your legs.
The kicker is you can't even get that from him. Like, he is not capable of giving you that because he fundamentally sees you as several levels below him, and he's not even looking for you in the right place.
So which one is it, Blanche? Is this man supposed to treat you like an equal, or is he supposed to treat you as if you are above him? It cannot be both. That is literally impossible. You're asking for the impossible because you just hate men. That's what this is about. You are the classic definition of a misandrist, Blanche, and you're not even that good a one.
Where you are to be found and seen and appreciated and loved. Men have this very transactional view, this very hierarchical transactional view of relationships, and they want to be seen as the one who is on top. They want to be seen as the one who gets more concite. They look up to their male boss, and everybody makes concessions for the male boss, at least all the men do. And
that's stupid. You're stupid! Stop being stupid!
That's because if you don't make concessions for the boss, you get fired. You wouldn't know this, Blanche, because you never have worked a day in your life.
Don't argue with him. His word is final. His word is law. And then men come home and they want to experience that for themselves. And so that's how they treat you. That's why they don't want to argue with you. That's why they're like, what do you want me to say? Because a boss doesn't have to justify themselves, you know?
No, a man doesn't want to argue with you because after a long day of work, the last thing he wants to do is get into an argument. If you are acting like an entitled yes, dear his way through the experience just so he can get some peace because he had a long day at work while you sat around bashing him and applying makeup on your face. Oh, what a terrible life you must lead, Blanche.
A lot of men want to dole out their love transactionally, and they want to dangle it like a carrot on a stick, like a little...
You always tell men they must do more to earn your love. He must change in order to earn your love because your love is this golden thing that is constantly being out of his reach that he must do more and more to earn. But the thing is, it doesn't exist. It's fool's gold because you're incapable of loving, Blanche. All you do is take and take and take and demand more and more and more from this man. And in exchange, you give him absolutely nothing.
Promotion or something for you to keep you motivated, not realizing that that is not how it works in a romantic relationship. That may be how it works for them because they are as...
Really?
What in the hell are you talking about, Blanche? Most men do not like being told what to do. Most of us want to be independent. We want our autonomy. We want our freedom, and we want somebody who's going to add value to that. We don't like being submissive. In fact, a man who resigns himself to submission experiences one of the most emasculating things a man can feel. And I understand that your brain is incapable of comprehending this, but men don't really like feeling emasculated.
How else to explain it? Like, they like having somebody in charge. They also cannot imagine that person being a woman. And that's why some of the happiest men you know, they're like, no, just ask my wife. Like, I don't know shit. Ask her, she knows everything.
You're not just wrong, you're stupid. Now wait just a minute. And you're ugly, just like your mum.
No, a man who says, ask my wife, is a man who's been broken. You are coming from the experience that all men must be broken down to cater to you, and why would we bother? There's nothing worth catering.
I'm just happy to be here. Whatever she says goes. Those are some of the happiest men you know. And some of the most miserable men you know are like screaming into podcast mics about how women need to be more submissive. Like, that's against women's nature. You're never going to get that from women. If you want a submissive partner, you need to look for a man. A woman is never going to bring that to the table. The only time a woman is going to seem submissive is it's like that moment right before she packs up all her bags and leaves your ass. All right.
And you would be doing that man a massive favor, Blanche. And of course, no episode is complete without giving a special thank you to the Bounty Board, as well as its newest member, the Big Bad Wolf. Thank you so much for your support, sir. Welcome to the Bounty Board. And of course, thank you to all of the members of the Bounty Board for helping to make this show possible. Thank you very much. All hail. And of course, if you're interested in helping to support the channel, check out the Bounty Board over on Patreon. For $5 a month, you get access to exclusive content, a permanent producer credit, as well as a personalized shout out. It's a great way to help support the channel, and of course, you can support by liking and subscribing, leaving comments on the video, sharing this, and making sure you're still subscribed. There's plenty of ways to give the good old-fashioned middle finger to the YouTube algorithm. Thank you so much once again, gentlemen and gents, and until next time, peace out, homies.